Hey everybody, Michael Snyder, Pacific Northwest Weather Watch. Today is November 1st, and right now we are looking at the Doppler radar, the Langley Doppler radar here on the Washington coast. You can see just to the northwest of Aberdeen there. You can see the Oregon coastline as well, where the precipitation spreading onshore. We'll continue to do so as we go through the day today, spreading up eventually across much of western Washington and starting to go into southwest BC by this evening. If you take a look at that green line, this outline here, that is the excessive rainfall outlook for today. It does include the Olympics, some of the coastal range of Oregon, and the Cascades, of course. And speaking of Doppler radars, we could use one down here towards Lincoln City or Newport. Hopefully that can happen someday. Taking a look at the infrared satellite imagery now, you can see the parent low over the Gulf of Alaska. This is the warm frontal feature here, just starting to bring the precipitation in as we speak. We've got a cold front back here, and we've got a 1, 2, 3 storm punch here coming in through the early portion of next week. We'll look at those details, and we'll look at the extended forecast as always. And this is something interesting the National Weather Service put out yesterday: fear, anger, sadness, acceptance, and readiness. This is where I spend my life here in these two. So hopefully everybody that watches this channel can do the same by being prepared and ready here. No need to spend any time down here. Just be prepared. No need to be scared. Now, this is something I shot yesterday morning. There's SeaTac. You can see the tower here in the fog. There's some interesting wave action moving across the valley off to the east of the airport there. Very interesting stuff. I have a time lapse of that. Unfortunately, it only went out 7 seconds here, but I look forward to sharing that at some point here in the future. Now, taking a look at this, across some of northwest Montana, some of Idaho, BC, Washington, some of this could be starting off this precipitation with the wintry mix, even some freezing rain across some of the area here as well. I'll show you the Spokane one here in a moment. And this is also another good reminder to clear out those drains, because we're going to have several rounds of precipitation and potentially more as we go on in through next week. And this is that mountain pass wintry mix, mainly for Highway 20 in northern Washington there, but it could be some freezing rain out there, so heads up for that. All my rural people there off across some of northern Washington, you can kind of see that winter storm impacts included there, and across some of extreme northern Washington, Idaho, and Montana here. And you see Mount Rainier if you're going up high up into the mountains there as well. Now, anyway, if you guys want a nice, affordable home weather station to record all this crazy weather we get, click on that link down below to save 10% off. It always makes it more fun when you can watch the real-time wind at your house when one of these storm systems roll in. Now, taking a look at the NAM 3KM, we're looking at precipitation timing. You can kind of see what the Doppler radar was showing this morning with the precipitation moving in, finally spreading over across the Oregon, Portland, Oregon here, and Seattle Metro as we go through the evening tonight. You see the low pressure center moving up towards the northern tip of Vancouver Island, and then the cold front starts to pass as we go through tomorrow morning. So a pretty good shot of precipitation with that first storm there. And as we go out towards hour 60, you'll notice the next system here making its way towards the coastline as we go on into Friday evening as well. And that'll be moving in on the day Saturday. Now, taking a look at a wider view of things here, there's the Hawaiian Islands at the bottom left. There's BC, Washington, Oregon here. There's Idaho. This is 18,000 feet, 500 millibars. Put it into motion. And you can see that initial system rolling through here, and then the system as we go through the weekend here, and then another system as we go through the early portion of next week. And if we look off into the extended, you can see additional troughing and storm systems moving into the Pacific Northwest as we go as well, and continued troughing across the Gulf of Alaska. November here is pretty active typically, so this is not that much out of the ordinary here, but definitely storm train going on here for the next 10 days or so, probably 2 weeks. And then you can see the continued troughing on the very end of the European as of yesterday afternoon's run. This is something interesting here. So this is the total precipitation on the ensemble mean here, and this is the 50th percentile. So if I run through here and just scroll all the way out to hour 144, which is where last night's run ends, this would be about Monday night, you can see the mean ensemble precipitation amounts here from Northern California all the way through BC here, and you can see Seattle just over 3 inches, some of the Cascades, and of course the coastal range is higher. But something you can do here is actually click on the 90th percentile. So if the ensembles tend to be wrong a little bit here, or they tend to be on the high side, you can see the amount of precipitation we could be expecting here just over the next 144 hours. Or you can check out the 10th percentile here. So on the lower end of things, this is what we would be expecting across a lot of the area here. I mean, it's a pretty big difference here, but for the most part, we are definitely looking at a rainy period going through Monday night with 3 systems moving through. And I'll show you that starting now. This is the European last night's run. This is minimum sea level pressure here. This also shows some of the more dramatic unfoldings of some of these low pressure systems coming towards the coastline here. You can see the initial system here. This is probably the worst case scenario or best case, depending on if you're a storm watcher or not, but 984 millibar low as we go through the day tomorrow, moving up towards Vancouver Island and Haida Gwaii. Then the next system, an even deeper low here, spreading some atmospheric river activity at the Pacific Northwest, also keeping us rainy. And then the third system rolls through on the day Monday also here. So yeah, it doesn't look like a region-wide windstorm here, but we're getting some gusty winds along the coastline, Vancouver Island here as well. Maybe a little bit breezy into the interior sections, but again, no major windstorm incoming. This is cool. You can see in the ensemble for the 6-hour max wind gust here. This is last night's run. This would be Thursday morning. You can see some gusts up into the mid 40s here, and then another blustery system rolls in through the weekend coming up. And there's some ensemble members that have a little bit higher up towards 50 miles per hour there. This is Tillamook, gusty, but nothing unusual here for November. Just some gusty winds up into the 40 mile per hour range. This is Quileute, Washington, and you can see some of these gusts getting up towards 40 miles per hour as well. This is Tillamook again. This is yesterday afternoon's run here also, but nothing unusual for November coming in wind-wise. This is Seattle Metro, a little bit further inland here. Some of the ensemble members have gusts into the 30s, maybe 40 mile per hour range here, but nothing too crazy right now. Although, looking off in the extended, there still is that mixture of some fantasy windstorms trying to show up here, but definitely nothing coming out of Fantasyland just yet. This is rainfall here for the Seattle Metro. This is yesterday afternoon's ensemble, and you can see about 1.2 is the mean here. The control showed 1.2 also. So there's first system, second system, and third system rolling in here. Tiny bit of a break here, then maybe another system out here as we go through the mid portion of November coming up. This is Hoquiam, Washington. Check it out. Definitely rainy period coming in. This first system looking pretty wet for a lot of the area. 1.7 inches. Then you can see system number 2 as we go through this weekend, then early next week. Same thing for Astoria there. You guys get the picture here in Shelton, Washington, kind of on the south slopes of the Olympic Mountains there. A very rainy period here as we go on in through the day tomorrow. This is looking at integrated vapor transport. This is how we measure atmospheric rivers. So basically, it's the amount of vapor transport based on duration. So you can see the initial system rolling through here. These are not exceptionally powerful atmospheric rivers because they don't hang out for long. You notice they hang out just enough to be classified as atmospheric rivers, but they're fairly progressive. Then you can see system 2 here as we go through Friday night on in through Saturday morning, fairly progressive again. And then we have another system rolling in Sunday night on in through Monday there also. But again, pretty progressive systems here. We're not looking at any monster Cat 5 atmospheric rivers at this point. It doesn't mean you still can't have some flooding concerns, though. As you can see at the very end of the fantasy run here on the GFS, a powerful lobe moving up north of Haida Gwaii there. No concern right now. But this is looking at the 1, 2, 3 systems coming up. You can see maybe some AR3 showing up in a place I cherry-picked on some of the Oregon coast here. But for the most part, you're looking at a weak atmospheric river activity, maybe moderate at the worst-case scenario. And here's the European as well, 1, 2, 3. And this system could uptrend here as we go through the extended. We'll continue to watch that. And again, with the day 1 excessive rainfall outlook here, you can see it across western Washington and some of northwest Oregon. Also wanted to take a look at the waves here because we've got some interesting wave activity moving in. You can see as we go through the day, actually tonight and tomorrow, you can see wave action increase here. A little bit of a break here. Then the next system is a bit stronger, and you can see it spreading some powerful waves up towards Vancouver Island, Haida Gwaii, Washington, Oregon coastline as well. And then another system as you go through Monday as well. So you're going to have some nice wave watching out there. Nothing too incredibly dramatic right now, but it definitely going to get some uptrending in the wave action as we go through next week. And then another bit of a break there, as you can see, as we go on through the extended forecast with another storm system approaching the west coast at that point. That would be way off towards next week, though. Now, checking out Whistler, you can see it does show some snow falling here, but you can see the temperatures are still kind of borderline here, so you're kind of looking at a lot of melting going on once you go through the afternoon hours. So keep that in the back of your mind if you're taking your snowboard up and you want to hike down, or if you want to hike up and then try to snowboard down. Now looking at the GFS total snow-to-chair ratio in inches, and again, I wanted to point that out because there's going to be a lot of melting, of course, during the afternoon for a lot of the areas right now. Maybe across some of the Rocky Mountains here, you might not get warm up just as much. But as we go through the extended, you can see there is some potential for some mountain snows here with some cooler systems, even down across California here as well. And you can see the Olympic Mountains maybe getting another coating of snowfall. So we'll continue to watch that as we go through the extended forecast, because most of this is showing up later on in the run. So just something to keep in the back of your mind for now. 6 to 10 day probability temperature outlook here. You can see above average conditions again through November 10th here. We'll continue to watch this, and precipitation above normal as well. And they keep highlighting this as you go out towards the mid portion of November. We still have that slight risk for some heavy precipitation, and still going to have some wind risk here. You know, some of these models can change, especially in this time frame here. It's only November 1st right now, so this is looking over a week out at this point. And take a look at the drought outlook. This was issued yesterday. So you've got drought remains but improves, and drought removal likely for some of Western Washington, Oregon. With all this precipitation coming in, it's really going to help out with some of the drought conditions. But you can see the drought persists across some of the Cascades, East Slopes, and Eastern Washington, Idaho Panhandle, and Northwest Montana as well. And this is looking at the drought monitor. You can see the extreme drought still ongoing across portions of Washington, Oregon, and some of the Northwest Montana. But we should really be working on this here as we go through November. It looks like a pretty active period coming in here. Now, the thing that's a little more concerning here is the vegetation drought response index here. You can see, I mean, a lot of areas are really extremely stressed as far as trees are concerned. So you can't just throw water on a tree for a couple of weeks and expect it to be okay. And I have a hunch that a lot of this started back in the heat wave of 2021, back in June 2021. That's just a hunch of mine, but I kind of noticed the trees, how weak they got after that. And a lot of them have not recovered. And I've noticed people around my neighborhood having to have trees removed. And there's a lot of dead trees out there as well. And it's kind of highlighted here across some of the Cascades and Seattle Metro, up and down the Puget Sound as well. And if you zoom in a little bit here, you can actually, it gives you a little more detailed map here. And you can see some of this pretty moderate, severe, and even some extreme drought out there. Same thing for Oregon as well. Same thing for the Idaho Panhandle. You can see I zoomed in here as well. A lot of moderate and severe drought for the vegetation out there. So anyway, hopefully this can really help out. At least it's the start of things, and maybe we can remain wet through December as well and through the winter months here. So hopefully we don't get a long dry period through the winter months here. Then we start getting into spring and we start to reduce the amount of precipitation we get. But then on the flip side of that, you don't want to bring it all at once here and cause flooding concerns. But anyway, yeah, I hope you guys are liking these videos. I put out a hype video there yesterday. Those are just entertainment purposes only, just a little fun out there that we have. Yeah, so we will do this again tomorrow. We'll continue to watch these systems because they do have the potential to change here. Of course, day by day, you guys know how this goes. The weather models can flip and flop, and we can all of a sudden be looking at some kind of a wind system moving through maybe in the week plus period, or a powerful atmospheric river. And then we'll watch for some of that mountain snow, maybe a cooler pattern as we develop on in through the second half of November. But anyway, I hope you guys are liking these videos. Click like and subscribe. We'll do this again tomorrow, and I will talk to you guys then.